They were one of the most talked about couples on the planet. Everywhere they went, cameras followed. Every dinner, every vacation, every quiet moment together. The world was watching. And then, just like that, it was over. But here's what nobody told you. The breakup between Bad Bunny and Kendall Jenner wasn't just about two people drifting apart. It was about two completely different worlds colliding, and one of them refusing to bend. Let's go back to the beginning. It was early 2023 when the rumors started swirling. Bad Bunny, the most streamed artist on Spotify for 3 years straight, was suddenly being spotted with Kendall Jenner, one of the most photographed women alive. At first, people thought it was a publicity stunt, a fling, something that would burn hot and disappear fast. But it didn't disappear. They were seen together in New York, in Los Angeles, in Puerto Rico. They were attending the same parties, leaving the same venues at the same time. And slowly, the world started to accept it. Bad Bunny and Kendall Jenner were actually a thing. And on the surface, it looked perfect. But surfaces can be deceiving. Here's where it gets interesting. Bad Bunny, whose real name is Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, didn't grow up in a world of cameras and red carpets. He grew up in Vega Baja, Puerto Rico, a small town, a humble household. His mother ironed clothes for a living. His father drove a truck. Benito bagged groceries at a supermarket while secretly recording music in his bedroom, uploading songs to SoundCloud, dreaming of something bigger. And he got it. Bigger than almost anyone could have imagined. But even as the fame exploded, something stayed the same inside him. He was still that kid from Vega Baja, still deeply connected to his roots, his culture, his people. Still someone who, despite selling out stadiums and breaking every streaming record, valued privacy, valued realness, valued a life that didn't have to perform for anyone. Now enter Kendall Jenner. Kendall was born into a family where the camera wasn't just present, it was the point. She grew up on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Her entire life, from childhood to adulthood, was documented, packaged, and broadcast to millions. The attention wasn't something she stumbled into. It was the foundation she was built on. And here's the thing, that's not a criticism. That's just her world. But imagine two people coming from two completely opposite philosophies of what life should look like, and trying to build something together. That tension? It was always there, simmering underneath the beautiful photos and the public appearances. Sources close to the couple started hinting at something early on. Bad Bunny was reportedly uncomfortable with how public everything felt. Not because he was ashamed, but because he is someone who has always been intensely protective of his personal life. If you pay attention to his interviews, his music, even his social media, you'll notice something. He rarely gives you everything. He gives you just enough. There's always something held back. Something sacred. Something that belongs only to him. Kendall's world operates differently. And she can't help that. When you've lived your entire life in front of a lens, privacy feels almost foreign. Her relationships, by default, become part of the public conversation. It's not malicious. It's just the ecosystem she exists in. And Bad Bunny? He was never fully comfortable inside that ecosystem. Now here's where the story takes a turn that most people missed. Around mid-2023, Bad Bunny released music that felt different. Darker. More introspective. Lyrics that talked about feeling unseen, about being surrounded by people but still feeling alone, about the price of fame and what it costs you. Fans started dissecting every line, looking for clues. And what they found painted a picture of a man who was deeply conflicted. He was in a relationship that the entire world had an opinion about. Every outing was analyzed. Every expression on his face was turned into a headline. Every moment that should have been intimate was instantly public property. For someone like Benito, someone who grew up valuing what's real, what's quiet, what's yours, that kind of exposure doesn't just feel uncomfortable. It feels like a violation. And you could hear it in his music. By late 2023, the couple had quietly gone their separate ways. No dramatic announcement. No messy public fallout. Just silence. Which, honestly, felt very on-brand for him. But then, and this is the part that really made people pay attention, Bad Bunny started speaking more openly. In interviews, in lyrics, in the way he carried himself, there was a clear signal. He was done apologizing for wanting a private life. He was done performing a version of himself that the world demanded. He was going back to his roots. Back to Puerto Rico. Back to what was real. He released his album debut Tirar Más Fotos in early 2025. And the entire project was a love letter to Puerto Rico. To his culture. To his identity. To everything that doesn't get filtered through a celebrity lens. The title itself, which translates to, "I should have taken more photos," carries this beautiful, aching weight to it. It's about nostalgia. About things that change. About wishing you had held on tighter to the moments that mattered. About loss, not just of a place, but of a version of yourself you're afraid of forgetting. Listen closely to that album, and you'll hear a man processing more than just Puerto Rico's changes. You'll hear someone processing his own transformation. The cost of fame. The relationships that couldn't survive the spotlight. The quiet grief of growing into something massive while still missing the small, simple life you left behind. That's not just music. That's a confession. And people felt it. The album became a cultural moment. Not just in Latin music, globally. The critics praised it. Fans called it his most personal work. And somewhere in those songs, between the reggaeton beats and the soft acoustic moments, was the real story of what happened between him and Kendall. Not betrayal. Not drama. Not scandal. Just two people who wanted completely different things from life, and were honest enough, eventually, to stop pretending otherwise. There's actually something kind of profound about that. In a world that thrives on messy breakups and public feuds and receipts being posted online, these two just let it go. Quietly. With dignity. Bad Bunny went back to his island. Back to his people. Back to himself. And maybe that's the most rock and roll thing he's ever done. Because real power isn't in holding on. Real power is in knowing exactly who you are and refusing to trade that for anything. Not for fame. Not for the cameras. Not for the most photographed relationship in the world. Benito knew who he was long before the world knew his name. And at the end of the day, he chose that version of himself over everything else. That's not a breakup story. That's a story about identity. About roots. About the quiet, unshakable courage it takes to walk away from what glitters and go home.